Hi everyone, today we are exploring multimodal literacy, which is how students make meaning when images, words, design, gesture, and sound work together. These historical Melbourne images remind us that public texts have long surrounded us. Traditionally, they were mostly static, like posters and photos that you looked at rather than interacted with. But in today's times, students navigate animated billboards, digital feeds, and rolling ads where text, image, motion, and audio are choreographed to influence attention and feeling. This is why literacy teaching needs to be multimodal. Serafini's notes that students encounter visual images alongside written language and design elements, and they must expand their repertoire to make sense of complex multimodal ensembles. This aligns with Halliday's systematic functional view of language as a social meaning across modes, and with Vygotsky's idea that meaning is co constructed with peers, teachers, and families. In short, we teach strategies that help students decode, discuss, and critique multimodal texts. Expanding the repertoire means moving beyond decoding to a text critic stance. Texts are not neutral. We ask whose perspective is privileged and how visuals and words position the viewer. We make explicit the historical, social, and political influences behind a message so students learn to read with evidence and healthy skepticism rather than automatic agreement. Here is an activity. First, we watch Let's Talk About Racism from the Australian Human Rights Commission. Next, in pair, students note how image, narration, and layout build the message. Then they share quick findings using the five design elements, which are linguistic, visual, spatial, gestural, and audio. Now, the advertisements are authentic multimodal texts that learners meet every day, so engagement is high. Research shows that teachers commonly use ads to grow multimodal literacy. The HARC is animated and age appropriate, translating a complex social concept into clear, relatable imagery and wording. Because ads are designed to persuade, they are ideal for building a text critic stance. Students learn to read verbal and visual signs together, including headlines, color palettes, framing, and pacing, and they ask what the text is trying to make them think, feel, or do. Evidence matters. So, here are a few curriculum links where studies with upper primary students have found that explicit deconstruction of advertisement increases critical involvement and awareness of purposeful construction. In our public service ad, the narration names unfairness, references anti discrimination law, and invites shared responsibility, which supports an integrated English and civic focus. Now, before we name the design elements, let's frame what kind of text this is and how it's built to meet its purpose. Let's talk about racism as a persuasive multimedia advertisement, a public service announcement. It follows a clear problem solution structure. It opens by celebrating Australia's diversity, then names racism as a problem we can solve together. We see a simple narrative and explanatory sentence, often with a school scenario first, followed by the explanation and a proposed solution. Using Clunin's prompt, we ask what is this purpose? Here, the purpose is to educate and persuade students towards fairness. The structure works through repetition and contrast, setting inclusive scenes against moments of exclusion, and it culminates in a unifying message. We all share this responsibility to stop racism. Now, to how the message is composed across modes, linguistic choices are short and values laden. Phrases like that's not okay, inclusive pronouns like we and our community, and adjectives such as unfair, equal, and respect. The ad also uses rhetorical questions and direct address. Did I do something racist? And how can you help? Plus, explicit references to law, including the Racial Discrimination Act, to ground the message and responsibility. Visually, the animation is bright and engaging with diverse characters interacting. Close ups of faces amplify emotion, color shifts, signal values, and symbolic cues. Like waving clothes suggests cultural identity because it's animated. It can heighten feelings, for example, by showing a child being excluded, then pivot to inclusion. Spatially, the composition and layout moves us from the problem to the solution, while pacing and framing guide interpretation. Keywords appear as text, overlays, and important moments may briefly freeze to emphasize the point. Finally, listen to the audio. A slower, self doubting voice for Did I do something racist? Invites reflection, while a firmer close, We all share the responsibility to help stop racism, unifies action. Taken together, the linguistic, visual, spatial, gestural, and audio choices work as a single persuasive composition to inform children and encourage them to value fairness and speak out against racism. The references are on screen for later reading. And thank you very much for listening. By teaching students to name how linguistic, visual, spatial, gestural, and audio elements work together, we help them ask better questions, resist manipulation, and create ethical multimodal messages of their own.